Be the change you want to see in the world. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. Being the change is exactly what Gandhi did. He helped bring peace into the world, and in the process, he freed a nation from oppressive British rule. Gandhi led thousands of Indians to freedom from the British in a peaceful and civil manner. This is a statue of Gandhi in deep meditation. The statue is set up in Tavistock Square Memorial Garden. Tavistock Garden is a public square in Bloomsbury, London. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was born to Putlabai and Karamchand Gandhi on October 2nd in Porbandar, India. He is one of 3 children that Karamchand and Putlabai had together. Gandhi was their last son. This is Karamchand Gandhi, Mohandas' father. Karamchand was the Diwan of Porbandar. A Diwan was a sort of prime minister that served the prince of a certain region. Then that prince would report to a British official. Putlabai was Karamchand's 4th wife, and the mother of Mohandas' 2 full-blood siblings, Laxmidas, his older brother, and Retlabeen, his older sister. She was described as both brave and kind by her son. In one story, a scorpion climbed onto her foot, and yet she simply picked it up and tossed it out the window, saving its life and her own. His sister and mother affectionately named him Mohanya, a shortened form of Mohandas. This is a statue of the Hindu god Rama and his wife Sita. The statue is like the one that Mohandas and his friends stole from a temple when he was about 6 years old. They stole the statue so that they could make a religious procession of their own. One of his friends dropped the metal statue on the stone floor. The children were caught, and Mohandas was the only one to admit to stealing the statue. Even when he was 6 years old, Gandhi preferred to tell the truth. By the time that Mohandas was 6 years old, he was in simple school in his hometown of Porbandar, India. He found school easy and began to love his Gujarati language, as he would for the rest of his life. This is Talca Primary, where Mohandas Gandhi went to school when he arrived at Rajkot, India. He lost many days of school because of illness. He found this new school difficult, but he had a determination to learn. So he started to arrive at school as early as possible. After years at the school, Mohanya took the examination for high school. He did well, coming out 9th of 69 who took the exam. Gandhi went to Kathawar High School. He did poorly in many subjects because a majority of the classes were taught in English. He was at the bottom of his class, yet he refused to cheat and to give up. One day, some people came to inspect his high school. His teacher was making signs to him to cheat, because she knew that he could not even spell the word kettle. When the incident was explained to him, he said that he did not think it was right to copy another person's work. This is Mohandas' friend, Madhab, who encouraged his rebellion when he was 16 years old. When Gandhi was 13 years old, he married a young woman named Kashtabai. The marriage was arranged, yet they grew to love each other and were married for 62 years. They had 4 sons together. The wedding was a lavish and costly ceremony, so to reduce the cost they married 3 people from their family at once. The ceremony went smoothly, and the only upset was that Karamchand Gandhi had fallen on the way and arrived in bandages. Kashtabai and Gandhi lived together, but Kashtabai went back to Porbandar with her family for many months at a time. The marriage and his father being ill made him take days away from school. In 1882, the year he was married, he missed 148 days of school and didn't even take the end-of-year exams. The next year, however, he worked harder and rose to 4th in his class. Karamchand Gandhi died of an ulcer when Mohandas was 16 years old. For the rest of his life, Mohandas was sorry that he wasn't at his father's side when he died. Gandhi graduated from high school. He started at Bhavandar, about 90 miles from home. He couldn't stay focused at this college, so he decided to go to England and study law. His fellow schoolgoers described him as kind and smart. He was a hard worker at law school in England. Everyone saw him as a well-spoken, polite gentleman with a drive for success. On June 10th of 1891, Gandhi passed his exams and was qualified to practice law in England or anywhere in the English Empire. On June the 12th of 1891, Gandhi got on a ship headed towards India to begin his new life as a lawyer. When Gandhi returned to India, things went poorly for him. He found that his mother had died, and he found that he was great at written work of being a lawyer, but could not stand up in front of people and argue a sufficient case. A while after he returned home, he heard of a job in South Africa, and jumped on the chance. When Gandhi arrived in South Africa, his job was as a legal advisor to an Indian company called Dalla Abdullah, in the town of Pretoria, South Africa. He heard stories of how badly the Indian people were treated, and Gandhi himself was thrown off a train for traveling first class, even though he had a first-class ticket. After these experiences, he decided to call a meeting of Indians in Pretoria, South Africa. He was determined to help them with their human rights. These public meetings seemed to make his shyness disappear. After 1 year, Gandhi had finished his work with Dalla Abdullah, but the locals begged him to stay, so he opened up his own law office in Durban, in the tall state of South Africa. People attacked Gandhi. They threw stones and bricks at him because they knew that he was going to campaign for Indian rights, and they didn't want him to succeed. In 1896, Kasturbai and their 2 sons, Harlal and Manilal, moved to South Africa to live with Mohandas. Attacks on his business made Gandhi even more determined to help. In 1914, after many years of war and strikes, the British rulers gave in. They abandoned a special tax that they put in place for Indians, recognized Hindu marriage ceremonies, and changed the registration law. Gandhi returned to India in 1915. He was greeted as a hero because of his protection of the Indian people in South Africa. Many wanted him to enter politics immediately, but being away for 20 years, he decided to step back and relearn the Indian way of life. They nicknamed him Mahatma, or Great Soul. Gandhi spent a year touring India, where he started an ashram or community called the Sagatara Ashram. In the ashram, Gandhi and his followers lived, grew food, and studied. In 1915, Gandhi invited the untouchables, or the poorest of the Indian society, to the ashram. Many people objected to this action, and all of his funding dropped out from under him, until a businessman made a donation that saved the ashram. In 1917, Gandhi heard of a farmer that was being forced by his British landlord to plant indigo. When the indigo market fell through, the landlord left the farmer to make up the loss with his own income. Gandhi decided to go to the farmer. When he arrived, the British strongly opposed him and tried to force him to leave. This just gave Gandhi more publicity. After the British government began an official inquiry, they reduced the amount of money that the farmer had to pay. This campaign showed that nonviolent action could make a difference. Gandhi spent most of his time at the ashram spinning cotton into cloth. Although an odd activity for a man trying to save a nation, it shows Indians how they could take control of industry. In 1918, the government devised a new law called the Rowlatt Bill that imposed strict measures against those who wanted to protest British rule. Gandhi and other Indian leaders organized protests throughout India. They protested in a hartal, or a protest that involves prayers and processions. When the hartal took place, Indian shops closed. No Indian went to work, and children didn't go to school. There were reports of British being killed and buildings being burned, despite the peaceful plan. This thoroughly upset Gandhi. However, worse was yet to come. The British outlawed hartals altogether, yet at Jallianwala Bagh Square, 20,000 protesters gathered. The entrance was narrowed to the square. The British Brigadier General Dyer marched on the square with 90 soldiers. Hundreds of Indians were killed and many wounded. General Dyer ordered that none of his men would help the wounded or dead. This showed Gandhi how bad the British wanted to keep their hold on India. It would become a long, hard road to freedom from this point on. Gandhi was put in prison in 1922 for civil unrest. He encouraged non-cooperation of Indian people. Some gave up and others tried to stop buying goods. Gandhi was told he was being imprisoned for trying to destroy the government. Gandhi was sentenced to 4 years. He was pleased with the sentence because it gave him time to think and to read. While fights raged on outside the prison walls, Gandhi was sick with appendicitis. He was released from prison after only 2 years in 1924. In 1929, the British still refused to discuss Indian independence, so Gandhi planned a new kind of protest. He decided to break the law that gave the British the sole right to gather and sell salt. Gandhi marched to the coast, where he gathered his own salt. When word spread of the march, people gathered their own salt, burned British cloth, and went on strike. 78 friends that were followers and members of the ashram joined Gandhi. For the first time, women were getting involved in the ashram as well. Gandhi was allowed to go to a conference in England in 1931. He tried with all of his might to help the untouchables in India. He was successful. He spent the next few years working for the untouchables and teaching them how to get good and nourishing diets and how to grow and make food themselves. In 1942, the British had a plan for the Indian Union. Gandhi feared that this would split India into 2 countries, a Muslim state and a Hindu state. Gandhi demanded that England quit India immediately. On August 9, 1942, Gandhi and his wife, Kasturbai, are arrested and imprisoned in the Aga Khan Palace in Pune, India. On February 22, 1944, Kasturbai Gandhi died in her husband's arms in the Aga Khan Palace. This convinced Gandhi that he was the next to go. After World War II, a new prime minister, Clement Attlee, replaced Winston Churchill. He and his party found that they wanted India to be self-governed, and soon there would be an election in India, and a constitution would be drawn up soon after. India became independent on August the 15th, 1947, only after partition, where India divided into Pakistan, which was Muslim, and India, which was Hindu. This upset Gandhi because of the number of people that had died during partition. So many held joyous celebrations on August the 15th, but Gandhi decided to begin another fast to bring peace to the city of Calcutta. His final fast was an attempt to stop fighting in Delhi, an extremist on the 30th of January 1948, because he felt that Gandhi was too sympathetic towards Muslims. As he was dying, Gandhi called out to the Lord Rama, saying, "Hey Rama," or "Oh God." Millions mourned Gandhi. The great leader was given a Hindu funeral by burning his body on a funeral pyre. Jawaharlal Nehru, a close friend of Gandhi's, said on his death, "The light that shone in this country was no ordinary light. The light represented the living truth, drawing us from error, taking this ancient country to freedom."